currently have a fifth father figure, and that's your daddy, honey.
Yeah.
He's just extraordinary. This is her daddy. I got to meet him, I guess, when I was when I was turning 40, and I think he was at the time like 52,
Wow.
and now I'm 62.
Hmm.
And your daddy and your mom are just the most extraordinary human beings I know. But I look to him as a father because he's a man of such integrity. He's, man, 50 plus, how many years sober now? 50, what?
Over 50 years.
Yeah, over 50 years
Yeah.
sober, works in AA.
54.
I feel like does the same work that we do. In the middle of the night gets the call, somebody's suicidal, and him and mom go out and try to figure out what to do. Somebody's strung out on drugs, and he's also had, he has love and he has strength.
He does.
He's nothing but love, but boy, he's got the strength. That's why, if you see the guys that he coaches, they're all the guys that have been, in jail for murder and prison and everything else. I all love your dad
They do.
because they know he's lived life, but he's still incredibly strong, but incredibly kind and caring, and give you a shirt off his back. And so there's very few people on earth. If I ask that, who is the ultimate father figure for me, it's your daddy.
Mhm.
And I'm so grateful because you played such an important role with your mommy in creating this life where you were, so loved, and I get the benefit of that. And who he is as a man is inspiring because it's real and it's raw and it's true. So thanks, Pops. Love you.
Love you, Daddy.
And I see a relationship now with men, some of them who are your senior, who feel like father figures in your life today. Can you speak to that a little bit and how you've acquired them?
There are people along the way that I've had the privilege, because I've been doing this now 45 years. I look at anybody that's older than I am, and I give them hierarchy, or anybody. They don't have to be older, they can be younger. If someone has a skill set I don't have, I give them hierarchy. In the male world, hierarchy is important. The female world, it's not as important. So I think when it comes to people in my life, there are people that are both like a brother and a father. So Peter Gruber is one of my dearest friends in the world for the last 35 years. I originally was like his coach, but he's 18 years my senior. So there are times where he feels like a father figure to me, and there are times where he feels like a brother, and we swap back and forth, and he's one of the most cherished people in my life. I guess the point I want to make is that everybody's your brother and everybody's your father if you can find the great qualities that make you give them a hierarchy of respect that isn't false and that's sincere. So I just think it's important that if you didn't have a great father, I guess the point I really want to make is don't be at a loss. Find some father figure. Find someone who you respect, someone you love, someone who inspires you, and someone you can learn from. And don't pretend that they're going to be perfect or expect them to be, because first of all, you don't even know what perfect is yourself. What you think is perfect at 30 or at 20 or at 10, I can promise you will change. But if you're not looking for perfection, but you're just looking for role models, then there are people around you who can play that role for you at the times that you need it most, and it could flex.
Mm-hmm. Tone, you've been a father since you were 24 years old, and now we share a 14-month-old. I'm curious, what has this little one opened in you, taught you? How is it different today?
Gosh, it's different in so many ways, honey. First of all, when I was 24, I instantly became a father of many, because I married to a woman at the time who had 3 children, and she had them from 2 different husbands. And she wasn't living with them. And I could see she wasn't happy. And I was like, okay, bring all the kids. And I fell in love with them and adopted them into my life. So instantly, all of a sudden, there were 4 kids, and they were in every age group. And her eldest son, I barely got to know because he was already 17 and I was only 24, 25. So that was interesting, but the others were, 11 and 5. And then my first birth child coming into the world at that stage. So it's like, wow, here I am to try to change the world. And all of a sudden there's all these kids here, and they're all in different stages of life, and they all need them. And one's almost my peer age-wise virtually, and they were from different fathers. It's like, this is like a complex world, but love can penetrate all that. Love can, solve all that. And so I fell in love with each of them, and they're all unique and they're all different. And I did my very best, and I'm proud of the father that I was. I learned a lot along the way. But, at the age of 61, having, now 62, but when she was born 61, having our daughter together, the 3 of us, which was such a unique experience to have her have 2 moms that love her completely and have all the life experience I have today. It was even greater than I had hoped for or dreamed for. there was a stage of life where it's like, honey, I said to you, I don't have a kid past 50. I don't
I
want to
remember.
show up at their high school graduation and be 70 years old. Now I'm going to be 80. So I wrote Life Force. Thank God I wrote that at this stage because I need to make sure I live past 100 here so I can be around for her 40th birthday. But the level of joy I have today is so different. And I think I've always looked at each of the kids. I think you have to look at your children as not you and not try to shape them to be you. But I did have certain thoughts and expectations about what they needed to do, how they needed to be still, even without that. And I think it's very different now. I'm much more in delight of the witness of what God has presented to us in this beautiful little soul, who she already is. Because I don't have to travel as much as I was in those days, I'm here for all those moments, her first little steps, her first words of dad, mama, and all those things. And so I get the experience of being a witness to what God put there before we did any conditioning or programming or educating or anything. And I have we all three of us are in alignment of, we want our child to be completely loved, but also not want them to have expectation. It's like, I think that's what messes people's lives up. And innocently, parents very often, they're praising their child all the time. It's a generation, the last 20 years have been like that, praising them, you're the best at this, you're the best at that. And Dr. Dweck did that great research at Stanford that shows the worst thing you can do. Because when you tell a kid they're beautiful, they're perfect, they're the best, and they believe it, and then they go out and find out they're not, it's so devastating to them that they become internalized, and then they don't take the risks that are necessary to grow. And so we will reward our little daughter even now, as you know, for effort, because everything in my life has come from unbelievable drive and the willingness to keep persisting effort. There's no replacement for that, because you can get the education, you can get the answers, you can get the solutions if you can persist. But if you expect life to just go your way, you're going to be very disappointed. But it's like all of three of us are very conscious of, and I'm speaking for all three of us here, that like we don't want her to every moment be showered upon, because then she'll just expect that. And what we really want our daughter to learn is, that she's completely loved, but also that by growing and giving, that life is about something more than her. And even as a child, you can have those lessons start to come. And so I'm very conscious about her being able to self-soothe. So it's not having to come from some external force. So she owns herself, even at this stage, but at the same time also making sure there's music, entertainment, and there's natural laughter. And she has the ability to explore and learn on her own. So there's more of a witness mode in me today than probably the earlier stages of my life. More of the grace of who she already is, and then being there as a presence where she knows that we're there and knows that I'm there, of love and a presence of, again, strength when it's needed.